John Berryman, who he wrote this poem. He was a great poet and a scholar. And obviously, his very famous work is, you might be knowing about it, Dream Songs, which has 385 poems. And also, he is the winner of Pulitzer Prize. Okay? And then he has the National Book Award also. So basically, he is a very famous name. Now he is writing this poem and he actually is describing the reality of life which we all have to face. Okay, he has touched the topic that how we have to stand up against the miseries, challenges, death, sorrows, adversities of life. That he is explaining through these lines. Okay, and that is why when he wrote that, he has taken one little boy. He's talking about a little boy who has just lost his ball. Now, ball is a metaphor, okay, and so many other things, which is compared to the problems, to the things, not only materialistic things, but also loved ones, our near and dear ones, that how we feel, feel the pain when we actually lose someone who is very close to our heart. So, in this manner, he has tried to explain this poem. Now, let us see the lines because it's a revision class. So, please, okay, mute yourself. What is the boy now who has lost his ball? What is he to do? I saw it go, merrily bouncing down the street, and then merrily over. Oh, there it is in the water. So we all know the words are very clear, merrily, cheerfully, bouncing, jumping. Now, so the poet is talking about a boy who has just now he has lost his ball. He wants to see what is his reaction. Why? Because he has lost his ball. So he is curious, inquisitive to see the reaction of that small little boy, that how he is going to react when he will see that his ball is lost. And then the poet is saying that the ball he himself witnessed, he himself saw, merrily bouncing down the street, that the ball was jumping happily. Okay, personification. And where it did it go? Merrily over. And finally, the ball, it was in the water. So he says that ball was happy, cheerfully jumping up and down the street, which obviously the ball has skipped from the boy's hand and where it went on into some nearby water body. Okay, so that is he saying that how it happened. Now, no use to say, oh, there are other balls. Now, in this situation, generally the entire world will console you. Okay, the word of consolation. Okay, okay, don't worry, you will get other ball. But here the poet is saying, no, I don't want to say these words to him. The poet is saying that I know there will be no benefit of consoling the boy by saying that we will get another ball for you or there are other balls. Why? Because what did he feel? An ultimate shaking grief fixes the boy as he stands rigid, trembling, staring down. So he is witnessing one more thing, that maybe perhaps the boy has, for the very first time, he has lost something. So he is in a complete shock, ultimate shaking grief. That means this is to that extent, ultimately, so he is shaking because he is facing this grief, this misery, and that's why he is fixed at one place. And what is he doing? He is looking at that ball, rigid, trembling, staring down. Why, why he is in such a shock? Why? Why he is feeling so sad? Because all his young days into the harbor where his ball went. That means all his memories of childhood, okay, that went down the harbor with a ball, there where the water is there, the dock, the port, the water body, harbor. So all his memory, simply has lost all his memory and now it is actually drowning into that water body. Now, why is it? Why? Because ball is not important. It is simply a materialistic object. One can buy many balls It is not important. But yeah, one cannot buy the same ball, okay? Because say this is the ball with whom his all memories are included. So he is genuinely feeling shocked and he's not happy, okay? I would not intrude on him. Now, why poet is saying so? I will not intrude, I will not interrupt, because sometimes it is good for us, for the elderly people, for your teachers, parents, to make you learn the harsh reality of life. Okay, so he says that no, I will not intrude. Let him have his own time and space. Okay, because if I will go and console him, okay, you are going to get another ball, I know he will not react, he will not be happy, because a dime another ball is worthless, useless. I know hardly a dime means little bit of money, 10 cent US. So even if I will console him by saying, okay, you will get another ball, okay, beta, don't worry, don't cry, I know that my consolation will be useless. Why? Because that ball has a special significance in his life. His all memories are related to that particular ball. It is not ball, it is the memory which was related to the ball. So he says that I know that all his sweet memories, all his youth, all his childhood days, which he was having, owning while having playing with this ball, he has lost them as well. It is not the ball, it is the memories, है ना? So he says that no, I will not. I want him to learn this grief. Okay, I know this loss is unbearable for him. And that's why his grief is stricken. He's trembling, he's rigid. And so I did not want to intrude in his personal space. Even if I will say, go and take some money, I will buy some other ball for you, I know it's useless. And then he says, now he senses first responsibility in a world of possessions. Yes, the poet is saying that boy has to learn when you have come to this earth. Definitely, your parents are there to help you. But now the time has come in your life for you children also, when you will learn that how to survive in this materialistic world, because whatever things you all are possessing now, one day you all will be losing it. It is a natural thing. So it's very natural that you all will be losing the worldly possessions. Okay, and so he says that you have to take responsibility to preserve them, as you people are also having your own things. How your parents are expecting that you will take the responsibility and you will preserve it. So similarly, he is saying that he has to take the responsibility in this materialistic world. And so he says, so he is personifying the ball as his belongings in this worldly things, or maybe the relationship of positions, because you will be losing people also. You will be losing your loved ones also. They will be lost in form of maybe separation. Separation will be in any manner. Okay, maybe someone will die, someone will settle down somewhere. You will be losing your best friends. You will be losing some of your relatives. Lot of things are there. So you have to be sensible. You have to be responsible in order to face the challenges of life. And then he says, he is going to give him very important lesson of life, that people will take balls. Now, ball is again, I told you, metaphor. Ball is not only the ball. Ball means all the things. People will take money from you. People will take materialistic things from you. People will take your loved and dear ones you. So people will take balls. Balls will be lost always, little boy. And then he wanted to give him this great philosophy of life, that balls will be lost always. Balls, which is symbolism of all the things which you want to possess, which you want to keep with yourself. So he says that you will be losing balls also, maybe people will take, or maybe due to other circumstances it will be lost. So my dear little boy, you have to learn this. And no one buys a ball back. That no one is going to buy ball back to you. You are not going to get it. People will take your ownership. Okay, this is the most important thing, that people will take your ball from you and no one is going to buy it for you, because you yourself has to learn this thing. And so he is saying that money is external. External here is means things with which feelings are not attached, that money is not important. Because if I say money can buy everything, money can't buy love, money can't buy compassion, money can't buy death. Okay, so money is useless. Here you are not, so money is useless. And then the poet observed one thing: he is learning. Well, behind his desperate eyes, okay, hopeless eyes, he is learning. And what is he learning? The epistemology. Epistemology means knowledge, knowledge of laws. Okay, so he's saying that he's learning the epistemology of laws, because this is the reality of life. If you have come to this earth, you will be losing someone, and you will be losing things, you will be losing your loved ones. So that is the reality as a child when you are under the protection of your parents. But one day you all have to face the challenges of life. You all will be doing that. So he will be learning this epistemology of laws, as well as he will learn how to stand up, yes, how to face this negativity, how to show must go on, as we say, how to move on. You might be knowing the word move on in life. Okay, so whenever you are facing any dark side, any difficulty in your life, people are there, great people, your friend. What happened? Mute yourself. So, how to stand up, knowing what every man must one day know, and most know many days how to stand up. So, he says that the boy is learning how to stand up against the sense of, against this lost thing. And this means that the boy is trying to learn the reality of life, the truth of life, which says that you have to accept the miseries of life, you have to accept death, you have to accept loss, and you have to stand up again. And this is the truth which everyone has to learn in his or her life, because this is the harsh truth of standing up against the oddities, against the miseries of life, which everyone has to bear. Okay, this is not a new thing, and this is the job of parents, this is the job of teachers, to explain you that things will be lost, things will change, but you have to learn how to stand up. Okay, because this is the only message the poet wants to convey through this poem. Okay. So the poem is clear now? Is it clear? What do you say? That what this poets, what is the purpose? What was the purpose of the poet when he was explaining? The poem Dust of Snow, we all know, written by Robert Frost. Simple, short poem, but yeah, it has a great symbolical meaning. And what poet is explaining, that sometimes even the trivial thing, even the petty issues which one experience in his or her life, how it changes the mood and everything. Okay? Now listen the poem. The way a crow shook down on me the dust of snow from a hemlock tree. Now, in the very first stanza, you can see that we have three things which is actually symbolizing negativity. Crow, color, black color, quite negative. Then we have dust of snow. Snow means winter season, dormant, when there is no life. Okay. And then we have hemlock tree. Hemlock, which is also known a poisonous tree. So, poet is saying that it is a scene. Just imagine it is set in a scene where the poet, obviously he's in a bad mood. Now you will again ask, how have you come to know he's in a bad mood? That you will come to know in the last line. And he's walking, and all of a sudden he stood under a hemlock tree, okay, which is actually a poisonous tree. As he was passing by, a crow happens to, and he sprinkled, he threw some snow dust on him. Now it is not very clear that how it has fallen on his head or on his shoulders. That is not specifically mentioned anywhere in the poem. Also, the reader is left in doubt that why he has done. But the crow was landing, maybe shivering with cold, trying to adjust himself on the branch or whatever. But yes, he sprinkled some particles of snow upon the poet. Okay, so the nature and hemlock tree and crow, they all are symbolizing all the negativity, all sadness, all the gloom. And then, but then something happens, has given my heart a change of mood and saved some part of a day I had rued. Rued means which we have wasted, held in regret. Okay, so one thing is now clear, that poet was not in a very good mood. Yes, so he says that obviously author was the poet was having a terrible day. So he says that when this falling of snow happened, maybe on my head or any part of his body, all of a sudden my mood instantly it was lifted. I became happy. I have already spent my day in a bad mood, but thank God, this small, insignificant incident, okay, which is not very important, but a small, insignificant incident changed my mood. And you know what happened? Saved some part of the day. That means half of the day which I have already wasted, I have rued, I have held in regret. Thank God, rest of half of my day was saved. So basically, he's saying that sometimes we keep on waiting for some great news, some big news, and we hardly ponder, we hardly take care, we hardly focus on the small things which sometimes bring a great change in our lives. So he says so. Generally, hemlock tree, crow, snow, they are used for the negative references. But you know how poet has used these three negative things so beautifully. Okay, you can say this inauspicious things so nicely, which has brought joy in life. So you can never say that this thing is bad omen. They are the symbolism of bad omen. But even the bad omen, even the black crow, even the hemlock tree has brought things, because nature can, black color, how black color is bad? Black color is known as bad omen because in our religion, in our custom, we use it. Okay, so that is the thing. Okay, so he says that don't ever, nature is great, God is great, God has created even the negative things in this world. But those negative things also, it depends on the frame of your mind. Those negative things can also bring a big change in your life. So he says that whatever you are taking things for granted. God has given you, blessed you with everything. So please accept whatever happiness God is giving you. Otherwise, what will happen? You will never be happy. So he says that even nature, which is so unpredictably, good, can benefit anyone, anytime. Even the bad mood can be, your mood can be okay. You can be okay. So that is the he's thinking that an insignificant, small event, unimaginable, small can has the have the healing power of nature, and even the tiny things can suddenly change your mood. So please pay attention to all these things, reciprocate what God has given you, say thanks, count your blessings, and be happy. Never ever have negative feelings in your life. Okay. So this was the great message which through this poem, beautiful small short poem, the poet wants to. Again, the poet, what he wants to explain through these lines. See, it is actually, this poem is expressing the great idea that the world would end in either two ways, either by fire or by ice. Now, fire and ice symbolizes what? See, both of the components are compared with self-destructing emotions, hatred and desire. So, the poem is very nicely creating, giving the great philosophy that we let our emotions rule us. And if we are not able to control them, they will surely destroy everything around us. So that's why he's saying fire and ice. So, two things you have to, that I will explain you. First, see, fire of desire, ice of hatred. Two words you will remember. Fire of desire, desire, excessive desire we all are having in our life. There is no end of this unending desire, and hatred. We hate everyone. So many hatred we are carrying in our heart. So it has taken from this entire piece has been inspired by Dante's Inferno. Some say the world will end in fire, some say in ice. From what I have tasted of desire, I hold with those who favor fire. Now, very simply, he's saying what? The poet is expressing the great idea that this world will definitely come to its end. Maybe it will come to its end in fire. Fire means fire of desire. People are having a lot of desire in their heart. Then some people means the entire world has it has divided in two parts. And one will saying that this world will come to its end in fire of desire. The another one is saying fire of that means in eyes of hatred. Now poet is giving his opinion. From what I have tasted of desire, I hold with those who favor fire. That he is simply comparing that I have tasted of desire, that yes, I have seen people having an excessive desire in their life. So that's why I feel, this is my personal opinion, that I am with those people who says that this world will come because of fire. I also favor them because I also strongly feel that if the world will come to its end, that will because of the fire of desire. But he did not stop here. After giving his opinion, he did not stop. He says, but if it had to perish twice, perish we all know, die, and I think I know enough of hate to say that for destruction, ice is also great and would suffice. So he says that I don't only think that this world will come to its end because only of fire, but if this world has to come to its end because of hatred, because of ice, then I think we have enough of hatred in the entire world which can suffice, means sufficient hatred we all are carrying in our heart, which will also bring this world to its end. So in either way, the world will come to its end because people are committing great crimes, a lot of sin. They are not abiding the rules, law of nature, hurting each other. Because most of importantly, even though you are not a great person, maybe, but what you are doing every day, what kind of sin you are committing? You are hurting each other, emotions, and you have, in order to fulfill your fire of desire, you are creating a lot of hatred in mind and heart of other people. So that's why the poet is saying, because when Dante he wrote in his Inferno, hell, that people will burn in hell. We all have to face our, the day of judgment. As I explained you when I was explaining this poem, that day of judgment that is going to come in all our life, in all the religion. We all believe that we all will arise, and Jesus Christ, or maybe Allah, maybe God, he is going to judge us, and maybe he will punish us, reward us, because whatever sin, whatever, or maybe not only sin, whatever nice thing we would have given to this world. But if we have done these things because of fire of desire and ice of hatred, definitely if it will keep on prevailing on this earth, this world will perish, this world will come to its end. So it is vice versa. If you are desirable, if you are having, definitely it will lead you to the hatred. If you are having fire of desire in your heart, that road, that path will lead you to the path of hatred. So somehow this world will also come to its end, and somehow you too have to face this kind of problem. So my dear children, this is the message, this is the strong message that the poet wants to convey through this. Okay, that there will be no option left. Slow and steady, the desire, fire of desire, the hatred will destroy the world. Both are equally responsible. Even though he says that I favor fire, but I know this world will come to its consequences. We all have to face our destiny. We all have to face our doom. If we will not keep on loving people, we will keep on reciprocating whatever God has given us. Okay, so this was the great message that the poet wants to convey.